Imagine a time when the simple act of eating too slowly could earn a swift reprimand or even a harsher penalty. Yes, historical disciplinary practices for children were as strict as they were varied. Today, we dive into a curious list of reasons a child could find themselves in trouble, harking back to a time when the rules of conduct were stern and the consequences sterner. First on our list, eating too slowly. In days gone by, dawdling over dinner wasn't just a minor irritation to adults. It was seen as a sign of poor manners or laziness, warranting a corrective measure. Conversely, eating too quickly was equally frowned upon. This was often perceived as greedy or impolite, and just as punishable as its slow counterpart. Then there's eating too much. In times of scarcity, or even in the framework of teaching restraint, overindulgence was not taken lightly. Children were expected to exhibit control over their appetites. Not finishing food, however, presented a paradox. While overeating was a no-no, leaving food uneaten was equally unacceptable, often viewed as wasteful or ungrateful behavior. Engaging in conversation while eating was another punishable offense. It was essential for children to eat quietly and respectfully without the distraction of chatter. Scraping your plate after eating might sound like an attempt to be thorough, but it was often seen as an act of greed, suggesting the meal provided was insufficient. Refusing to eat altogether? Now that was certainly out of the question. Such defiance could lead to disciplinary actions, as it was important to show obedience and appreciation for what was provided. Eating food prepared for visitors was a major faux pas. This food was set aside for guests, and taking it without permission was a breach of respect and hospitality. Looking at visitors while they were eating might seem harmless enough, but it was considered rude and intrusive, hence a punishable act. Now, onto the reactions to punishment itself. Crying while being beaten might seem a natural response, but it was sometimes viewed as manipulative or overly dramatic. Not crying after being beaten? This too could be problematic, interpreted as insensitivity or a lack of remorse. Crying without being beaten was perhaps seen as the most perplexing. This behavior could be construed as deceitful or an attempt to garner undue sympathy. Lastly, eating at a neighbor's house. While it might sound like a gesture of community and sharing today, back then, it could be seen as imposing or taking advantage of others' generosity. In summarizing these points, it becomes clear how far we have come in the evolution of child discipline. The transformation from these historical practices to today's methods reflects broader changes in societal values and understandings of child development and psychology. Discipline, once a rigid set of rules primarily enforced through punitive measures, has evolved into a more supportive and nurturing approach. Understanding this evolution helps us appreciate the more empathetic and reasoned strategies in place today, aiming not just to correct, but to teach and guide. The journey from then to now offers a fascinating glimpse into the shifting paradigms of parenting and child rearing through the ages.